Hello, bonjour, здравствуйте, assalamu alaikum, hola, and a big hello and welcome to the Knitters Party podcast. What? Who's this?
Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Hey guys,
It's
welcome back.
it's craft dinner. Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited to be back. I'm sorry that I've been away for 4 months. Oh my God, it's been a ridiculous whirlwind. Things have just been sort of coming and going through my life. I became a vegan, I stopped being vegan, I've been knitting, I haven't been knitting, I've been living in the UK, came back to North America, I'm currently in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Oh my God, things are just going absolutely crazy in my life. So I'm happy to be back and share a little bit with you guys. First and foremost, welcome to the Knitters Party podcast. My name is Megan. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Meg311Yo. I am here today surrounded by lots of fun knitting, tons and tons of cool yarn, and a couple of good stories. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys again. As always, I'm going to start off my lovely podcast with a beer. And as this is the season for pumpkin, I am drinking a local beer to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The brewery is called Alley Cat, and this is the Pumpkin Pie Spiced Ale. I hope it's delicious. Let's crack it open, shall we? Oh yeah. Cheers to all of you who came back to see me once again. Big thank you if you're joining me for the first time, and a bigger thank you if you're joining me again after a 4-month hiatus from podcasting. So this one's to you, this one's to me. Cheers. I love pumpkin beers. This is absolutely my favorite time of year for beer. Pumpkin beers, apple beers, any sort of fall spiced ales are absolutely my favorite. But I didn't come here to drink beer. Well, I came here to drink beer, but I didn't come here just for the beer. I came here to talk to you guys about all of my life and my knitting that's been happening in the past 4 months. As I mentioned before, I was living in the United Kingdom for a total of 6 months from February through August 2017. I have had such a great time. I traveled a whole lot while I was there. I went to Paris. I went to, of course, downtown London. I went outside of London to some other cities in the UK. It's just been sort of a whirlwind, and unfortunately my knitting was put on hold for a long time. I joined a course. Actually, I took a program to teach English as a foreign language abroad. So the course I was taking was called CELTA, which is the Certificate for English Language Teaching to Adults. And I took this program, I made some good friends, and I sort of just didn't knit too much while I was in the UK, which is absolutely nuts because it was cold, it was rainy all the time. There was perfect weather to be wearing my hand knits. But a couple of episodes ago, I showed you some accessories that I had made, and I got a good chance to wear those around. But then once summer started, I didn't want to be wearing hand knit garments. I didn't want to be knitting with wool and all of this stuff. So I sort of, like I said, just put a hiatus on my knitting. But I'm back. I've been in North America for about 1 month now, and I have definitely picked up the knitting bug again. And I'm so excited to share with you a couple of fun things. So I actually want to start with my finished objects, just because it's been such a long time. I love my finished objects. I know I'm supposed to start with works in progress, but those are sort of where I have more stories to tell. So I'm going to just start with my finished objects today. So first and foremost, although it is not me, I have possibly a baby coming into my life sometime in the future, right? So somebody in my family is, trying for a baby, and so I started to knit some baby garments for them just because why not get a head start? I do plan to go back to Egypt probably on November 1st, 2017. We're going to be there for a total of 8 months, going to Cairo this time. But I don't know if I'm going to have a really great opportunity to send my knitting home, or if I'm basically going to stockpile it in Egypt and just take it all home with me in one shot. But This first little thing is an adorable baby onesie. It's so little, you guys, and I love this confetti yarn. I'll tell you a lot of information about it, but this is officially the pattern for the Fuss-Free Baby Cardigan by Louise Tilbrook. I decided to turn it into a onesie because I don't think babies need cardigans. I think they need an outfit. They need an all-in-one thing. And I've looked at a couple of other patterns for baby onesies, and none of them looked quite so easy. And I picked up this yarn and knew that I wanted to make something baby out of it. And this was the first pattern I came across that I just really loved. It is a raglan style baby onesie. And what I've done is I've added a small eyelet in the on the top around the arms. I've added some eyelets, and across the front on both sides of the button band, I've added those eyelets just so that I can make myself full screen here. I added those eyelets for a little bit of breathability and so that I can, just add some style to it, because otherwise it is straight stockinette knitting. So to turn it into a onesie, I sort of made my own pattern for this wraparound, bottom, so to speak. I'm going to unbutton it here so you can see that it's all connected. It's all one piece. I was able to knit this completely all in one piece. Yeah, you can see that it's got a nice little satchel for, a little bottom to go in. Once you wrap it up, you can button it down, and you got yourself a little baby onesie. I never realized just how fast baby knits are. Obviously, I knew that it wouldn't take as long as a full adult-sized cardigan, let alone for a lovely curvaceous woman such as myself. But this baby onesie took me almost no time at all. I was completely done with it in about a week. I just had to find buttons to go with it. But it took only like a week to do, and I was not knitting full time on this thing. So yeah. All right, about the yarn, I did purchase this yarn in the UK from a place called C&H Fabrics. It's a haberdashery in Winchester, UK. So it is officially a British knit. This is 100% acrylic. It's a baby onesie. They're going to wear it for maybe a month or two while they fit into it. I'm not going to go out and buy really expensive, hand-dyed wool or anything like that. Also, the person that I am knitting this for is vegan, and so they have specifically requested no animal fibers in any yarns that I'm going to make for this adorable baby. So I'm planning to make a baby blanket, planning to make another couple of things, hats, booties, probably a bunch more onesies, a bunch more cardigans. I don't even know. These baby knits have been really fun. And, well, you'll see maybe in my works in progress what else I'm working on for this little nugget. But this is my first finished object. And I hope that the person that this is for really likes it. Like I said, I got the yarn in the UK. I picked up these buttons at Michael's right here in Canada. They're just regular buttons. But I just love this. Pretty adorable yarn, little confetti in it. The back is really nice as well. Just plain stockinette, nice little raglan increases. This was just a simple, easy project. So that's my first my first finished object. My next finished object is something that is also 100% British. And let me tell you, this little guy, you know me and Amigurumi. If you've seen episode 2, it's all about the amigurumis. Today we're going to be revisiting some of them, not many, but this is one of my newest amigurumis. His name is Zingy, and this is a British character? How do I say this? Okay, so the idea for this Zingy, there is no pattern for this. I made this up, but it is based on a real thing. Zingy is a mascot for a British electricity company. And they have them posted all over the trucks for this electricity company. So if you called, your electricity is down, you call them, they'd come over and they'd have this truck and on the truck would be Zingy trying to save you money on your electricity. So it's just a little blob. It's like a little yellowish orange snowman. I have no idea what it's supposed to be. It's just an anthropomorphized little blob. And Paul and my husband and I just fell in love with it. So, he requested specifically that I make him a Zingy. And so I did. Hello. This yarn is some yarn that I purchased in Austin, Texas last summer when I was home. It is a Yarn Carnival high wire 3-ply. This is a fingering weight yarn held double. It was crocheted, so rather than knit, but I, don't think that's a problem. And I did hold it double, and I used a size J hook, but I realized that I should have gone down a couple of sizes because clearly, as you can see, these holes are big enough to let the stuffing through. And it's sort of a problem because, even just playing with him a little bit, he started to get really pilly. His stuffing started to come out a little bit, but he's just too adorable. You can't just not play with him. Um, on the top, he's supposed to have sort of like a little curly Q hairdo, like Dairy Queen, ice cream cone sort of thing. But that's really hard to do with no pattern and crochet. So I did the best I could. And this is what we got. He's a Zingy. And oh my God, we just are having so much fun playing with these little amigurumis. Him especially needed a bit more stuffing. He's really airy and super just elastic. I hope he lasts a long time. If not, he's two separate pieces here, just conjoined. I can always open him back up, do a little lobotomy, stuff him back with some additional stuffing, and, set him back on his way. But we're going to see. The reason I'm filming this podcast now is because I have a couple of these little amigurumis to show, and we do not take these to Egypt with us. Our amigurumis are sort of precious to us. They're almost like our little babies, our pets, and so we leave them with our adoring, loving mother-in-law who generously takes care of all of our amigurumis so that we don't have to risk losing them when we're living abroad. But Zingy was made and created in America, just based on a little British character. So yeah, that's my second little finished object. Like I said, there's no pattern. I did not use a pattern for this. I know that there are Zingy amigurumi patterns online. I just decided to just go for it one day. Paul had been begging me for the Zingy for such a long time. I just sat down and started crocheting one day, and that's how Zingy was born. I just love his color. He's really bright. You can't see it too well in this lighting, but he is quite bright. No, you can't really see it. He's electric yellow, and I love him. So, cool. So that's my second finished object. I have just one more finished object that I'm going to talk about before we get into our works in progress. And then our sort of big segment for today is a little special I like to call my pill shaving adventures. And we're going to get into that a little later. So this last finished object that I have is a special one to us. And as you can tell from our intro scene, we love our amigurumis, we love our penguins, and this right here is the newest penguin friend. Her name is Atlantis. Say hi. She's waving at you guys. You gotta say hi to her back. So this is Atlantis. She's a little cheeky bitch. Oh, sorry. She's a little cheeky penguin. She's got these like wide childbearing hips. She's just got the perfect shape to her. Oh my God, I had such a blast knitting her. This yarn is the reason that she is so special in that this is found yarn. Straight up, Paul and I were going to the liquor store one day up in Clarkston, Michigan, with where my parents live and where we're staying sort of full time while we're in North America. We go to the liquor store one day and I see a ball of yarn just cascading through this parking lot, yarn everywhere. It's been hand wound. And so I knew it was a sign for me. That was the night that we picked up lottery tickets for the 750 million Mega Millions jackpot. I didn't win, clearly, but I did win in that I found this, skein of yarn all hand wound. So given that this was special found yarn, I needed to make a special penguin. So her name is Atlantis, like the found city or the lost city, whatever you want. But she's so special to us because she's knit with all this found yarn. And this is the ball, the original ball. I did not rewind this at all. I did have to take off pretty much an entire layer of yarn because it had been sitting in this parking lot for such a long time that it was dirty. It had, little bits and pieces, bits and bobs in it, as the British would say. And so I had to basically take off just yards and yards and yards of this yarn before I was able to get to the meat, the good stuff. But it is definitely 100% acrylic, worsted weight. I'm sure it was purchased at, just some craft store. It's nothing particularly special, like a nice dusty purple color. There we go. That's a good representation of it. It's a pretty color, nothing I would pick up for myself, but you can't just find yarn and not pick it up and take it home and make something special out of it. So I just absolutely love that this special penguin is made with this very special yarn. Oh, just in time for the holidays. So this yarn is the purple, the main body is that found yarn. This belly color is the confetti yarn that I used for that baby onesie just a minute ago. I did have to pick up some red yarn here. So that is actually some Patents Canadiana. I picked it up here in Canada. So it's just Patents Canadiana, bright red. She looked like a little vixen, she's got these beautiful hips. I figured she needed to be a sassy little penguin. And so I gave her some bright red lipstick and a little black tag right here. We say she looks like she's wearing a tuxedo, but I think she's a little more casual than that. Yep, and then just some little blue eyes, matching feet to go with it. And she's our newest penguin. Hello. Aw, we now have 11 penguins in total, and that's just the ones that Paul and I own. I have given penguins away to my mother-in-law, so she has an additional 2 penguins. And then there's all the other amigurumis, which we're not going to talk about. Go see episode 2 if you are interested in seeing all of my amigurumis. If you're one of those people like me, I clearly am an amigurumi person, a little plushy girl. It's fun, so just give it a shot. Yeah, so anyway, that is my last finished object. That's 4 months of knitting right there, just 3 finished objects. I have been working on a couple of the other things that I've mentioned in previous podcasts, but I haven't finished anything else. So I'm still working on that cardigan with the green yarn that my friend gave me. I've sort of abandoned hope on my Juliana pullover. It's a beautiful pattern, but the yarn is just all wrong. I can't seem to get that pattern right. So I might try one more time before I just give up, but I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's not even worth showing you. I have 0 progress to show on all of my big projects. I did start a Halloweb shawl using that high wire yarn from Austin, Texas, but even then, that one did not work out so well. So that's it for my finished objects. Moving on to my works in progress, I've got just 2 that I want to show you today, but both of them are pretty special. So I'm going to start off with this, and like I said before, I am expecting a baby in my life sooner or later. Again, not my own baby. I'm not interested in having children of my own at the moment. So this is for a special person in my life who is trying for a baby. So this is a baby romper. It's called the Mio Romper by Pippi Eve. And I am using, this yarn that I'm using is Sirdar Cotton DK. It's a DK weight yarn. I bought this in the UK as well at Winchester, in the United Kingdom, at that haberdashery, the same place I bought my confetti yarn. It's a really nice DK, definitely like a mercerized cotton yarn, super soft, really tightly wound. You can see it's almost got no halo to it, so it's a really clean yarn. You can't see the color too well, but this is like a seafoam teal color, like a really nice light teal. And I'm also using the same yarn, but in this silver color. They don't give names for their colorways, and so I can't tell you exactly what the colors are, but you'll see it if you find this around. They've just got a whole beautiful color palette of these cotton yarns, and they're really nice. I am knitting these on my Knit Picks interchangeable needle set. This is the nickel-plated brass Knit Picks options. And so this little baby onesie starts at the bottom. It's a bottom up onesie. So you start at the bottom. This is going to be the in between the legs, where you button it up. It's going to go up here, and then it's got these really adorable, it almost looks like suspenders, these little straps, like overalls. There we go. And it's just absolutely adorable. Now, you'll notice that this is all seed stitch. Seed stitch is really hard on my hands. I don't know about you, but whenever I knit seed stitch, my wrists just hurt and hurt and hurt. So I have to take turns doing this and something else. This is also my first time doing intarsia. The pattern does not call for 2 colors, but it does call for slightly more yarn than I have. Each of these skeins comes with 232 yards approximately. The pattern calls for about 250. So rather than risk running out of yarn at the very last minute, I decided to do all of the edges and the straps for the overalls in this teal color. And I think it looks nice. It's a fine combination. The person who I'm knitting this for actually picked out these colors herself. So I hope she remembers when I give this to her that she chose these colors. But this is my first time doing intarsia. I certainly did not want to carry floats all across the back of this this little thing. And so I have connected this via intarsia. And it was easier than I expected. I did have to watch a YouTube video about intarsia sort of to get it, but because I'm not doing any complicated color work or any patterns in the middle, I don't have to worry about using a different, I'm not stacking colors in a different way. They're all sort of the same, you know, knit 4 at the edge, work your intarsia, and then work across the row in pattern. And so it's actually been pretty easy. And if you've never done intarsia, it's a way of doing color work where you don't have floats in the back. So if you do standard Fair Isle, you're going to have those floats in the back of it. And that's perfect if you're doing, you know, 2 or 3 colors in a row. Everything is pretty close next to each other. It's great if you have patterns that are working right next to each other. But for something like this, where I'm just trying to do an edge, followed by a large portion not in that same color, and then another edge, I figured that intarsia was the best option to do that, and I'm glad I did. If you've never done it, don't be intimidated. The way that this woman, I just watched 2.5 minutes on a YouTube video and I felt like a pro. Basically, in order for it not to show, in order for it to stay, you know, close together, because you don't want just stitches like here's my blue, here's my silver. You don't want them just next to each other. You want them sort of interwound with each other so that they're not going to separate if you wash your knitting or if you just, you know, are using it wear and tear, normal wear and tear. So the way you do it is to put the old color over the new, and then you pick up your new yarn so that this old color is sort of wound through your stitch, wound through like your loop, your working yarn basically, so that it doesn't move away. It's brilliant. I am so excited that I tried this out. I know that I said a couple episodes back that I was looking to try out a couple of new new skills in knitting, and so intarsia was one of them. I never thought that I would do it, and it was so much better than I expected. Granted, I'm not doing a big, you know, block patchwork quilt or like an afghan or a sweater or anything big where it matters. I'm making a little baby onesie that if it does start to pull away for any reason or another, they wear it for like 2 months while they fit into it, and then they just donate it away or they throw it away. I'm not going to be upset if they decide to throw it away. I personally don't love the color combination of this silver and green, silver and like teal, but I didn't have enough silver on its own, and yeah. So maybe I'll make a little matching hat in this teal color, maybe some matching booties or something to try and pull it all together, tie it together so that it's not just these random blue stripes. I am also thinking for buttons, because there are buttons connecting it in the front and then sort of in the underside under the crotch so that you can sort of tie them together and, you know, put a diaper on. For buttons, I'm thinking I'm going to do also like a teal color, but I'm really not sure. I went to Michael's yesterday to look for buttons for my other baby onesie, and I couldn't find anything that really spoke to me about this color. So I'm hoping that I can, you know, find another store, maybe in a different city, and just find some buttons that work really well. Maybe I'll do some novelty buttons, like, you know, little smiley faces or some little kid buttons. But the person I'm knitting for, I don't think they generally like that as their aesthetic, and I don't want them to hate this thing that I'm knitting for them. They won't hate it, but you know what I mean. I'm thinking about them. I'm trying to make the best thing that I can. So we'll see how that works out. So that's my first work in progress. My next work in progress is something that I'm having probably a lot more fun knitting because it's not in seed stitch. It doesn't hurt my hands to knit. And I have made one of these before. So this will look familiar to any of you who've watched also some previous podcasts of mine. This right here is the Celtic Cable Neck Warmer. The designer is Lindsay Hendricks. This is absolutely a stunning neck warmer. It's going to be just like a nice cowl when it's all finished. I'll have some beautiful buttons to go with it. And I am knitting this for my wonderful mother-in-law. She, oh, sorry about the rattling, man. My knitting needles are going against my beer mug here. Let me move this out of the way, because that's less important than what I'm here to show you guys. So this Celtic Cable neck warmer is almost maybe 60% finished now. The total project length is about 20 inches of cabling, and then you do like a little button band, maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and then you attach buttons to it, right? And my mother-in-law was talking to me about how she does all sorts of handicrafts as well. She specifically does embroidery, needlepoint, petit point, things like that, really fine work. And oh my God, she is so adept at doing this. She makes really amazing, beautiful products. But somehow she's a little jealous of me because I knit. I'm so jealous of her because she does these really stunning pieces of work that you can frame and hang them on your wall, and you can look at them and admire them all the time. Whereas I make things that half the time I don't like, half the time if I do like it, I can't wear it because I'm living in a warm weather country and I don't want to wear a wool scarf when I'm in Egypt, things like that. But somehow she loves my knitting, so I offered to make her something. She lives in Canada, so it's much colder up here. Definitely they get snow. And so I asked her if she would like a neck warmer, and she absolutely wanted this one. She had seen my podcast from the first one that I made, and she, agreed to do this one. So this is my progress so far. This has taken me about 3.5, maybe 4 hours of knitting to get this far, and this is maybe 14 inches completed. So that's pretty darn far in just like 3.5 hours. The yarn itself is just Caron Simply Soft. My mother-in-law is allergic to wool, so she can't wear, nice hand-dyed wools. And so she specifically asked for, let's just go to Michael's and pick something out. And I sort of agreed only because cotton yarn wouldn't be warm enough for the winter. And so this is just 100% acrylic yarn. But I do think that it's a nice yarn for something like this. The color here is called Pagoda. And it's a really beautiful teal. This is her favorite color. She immediately took a beeline to this color when I was, we went to Michael's, we went to the craft store. She beelined it to this yarn and she said, I want that. She just picked it up and she was like, that's that, it's over, it's done, this is it. So I obeyed, and so far it's looking absolutely wonderful. Now, when I got home and I started making this pattern, I owned the pattern from before. It is a paid for pattern, but it's absolutely worth it. It's not even expensive. And this is something that I'm going to be making another one of, but we'll talk about that. This yarn, the pattern specifically says, oh, this is, a cabled pattern. 100% acrylic yarn is not recommended. So what do? I pull out my yarn, 100% acrylic, and I'm like, great. Shit, what am I going to do, right? And it specifically said that it might start curling, that acrylic yarn will curl if it's not blocked out properly, things like that. And so I was a little worried at first, but this is not curling at all. I don't think it will curl if it is, blocked out or washed or anything. Sorry, I have my cable needle just sitting here in this, so it doesn't have this random thing to it. It is just on its own. It is curling, I guess, a smidge here, but once you sort of flatten it out, it shouldn't have too much problem. Also, you wear it like this, and so if it curls just a smidge in towards the inside of it, I don't think it's going to be a problem. So the pattern calls for 3 buttons, but I personally, when I made mine, I made 4 buttons. And these are the buttons that my mother-in-law picked out. Just almost like a Gothic style, like a nice pretty metal. I love these, and I think they're going to look really good with this yarn. I wish the color was a bit more true, but you can definitely see the cables here are very, it's just like a very dramatic and bold statement piece. So I'm glad she likes it. I'm about to finish this off today once I finish podcasting, and then I'm going to get working on what will become a work in progress probably tomorrow, and that is a second Celtic cabled neck warmer, but for my husband's aunt. So my mother-in-law's sister. We were at Michael's, and she, thought that maybe her sister would like one of these as well. And so they take no time at all. I'm here for another week, and I basically have nothing to do all day but knit. So I'm happy about that. And so we picked out another beautiful color of yarn. This is more like a traditional teal, like a light teal. There we go. That's a nice color. Red Heart Soft. This is called Deep Sea. This is also 100% acrylic yarn, just from the craft store. Nothing expensive, nothing fancy, but I think it's going to make for really clean cables, really nice, beautiful pattern. And then we picked out these buttons for my aunt. These are the buttons that I actually used when I made my Celtic cabled neck warmer, the same one. And so I sort of saw these and I was like, okay, well, I love those ones. And we thought that they looked really nice with this color of yarn. So we decided to go with it. So that's going to be my next work in progress starting today or tomorrow, whenever I'm finished with the first one. But yeah, so I'm absolutely in love with this pattern. It takes no time at all, maybe 10 hours from start to finish completely, including weaving in your ends, including, popping your buttons on there, making your button, making your button band, everything like that. It's a fast project. I love it. And it's a really great gift, if you know somebody who's in a cold weather state, if you're knitting for charity for someone who, a charity organization that might want accessories, hats and scarves and mitts and neck warmers, things like that. This is a really great one because it does not look homemade. It looks handmade, and it looks absolutely beautiful when it's all finished. So I don't think I'm going to be able to show you guys the finished product just because I plan to podcast possibly in 1 week, possibly in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be gone from Canada, and hopefully I'm going to be leaving these beautiful neck warmers with their owners. So you won't see the finished project, but you can always check it out on Ravelry if you're interested. Great. So that is my works in progress. Those are my finished objects. I do have sort of a special segment that I wanted to talk about today, and that is about my new obsession, my new absolutely favorite tool, something I will never live without again, something I didn't know I needed until now, and that is a pill shaver. If you don't have one of these, let me sell it to you because this is the most important tool I will ever own. And this one's not even mine. This is my mother-in-law's. I have one at home in Michigan that I purchased from Knit Picks. I think it's a lot smaller than this. Like this one has a nice chamber to catch all the fluff. The one I have is probably half this size, but it was really cheap on knitpicks.com. But I will never finish an object without shaving it because this thing is absolutely incredible. Let me tell you the saga that I had with all of my amigurumis and this pill shaver. So, you guys met Craft Dinner earlier today. This is one of my original penguins. I absolutely love him. Hi guys. He talks. Sorry. Hi. I'm so excited to be here. That's him, not me. Craft Dinner. Shh, be quiet. Mama's working. Anyway, you can see he has like almost no halo. Most of my knitted items, in fact, let me show you, for example, this baby cardigan. If you look at the side of it, there you go. You can see all that fuzz. That's just hanging out there. That's no big deal. Once you wear this a couple times, maybe you wash it once or twice, that's going to start getting pills. Those little bits of yarn that sort of come off, they form these little balls, and they are just so annoying. Most recently, I was at home and my grandma was visiting from Florida. She came up because Hurricane Irma was just going to tear through the state, and she decided to come spend, the week with us in Michigan. And so I was showing her all of my knits, and I put on this amazing sweater that I had knit before. And this sweater just had pills all in the underarms, down in a back where, like in the back of it where, I guess it sort of folds in on itself. And these pills just looked horrible. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this sweater is my pride and joy. It's absolutely stunning. And here it is all almost ruined because of all these pills and all this, just fuzz that's all over my sweater. I couldn't handle it. So when I was here, I was talking to my mother-in-law about the sweater, and she was saying, well, why don't you just shave it? And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I had totally forgotten that I purchased a pill shaver in Michigan a long time ago. I've never opened the box. It takes like 2 AA batteries. It takes nothing at all to do, and it makes such a big difference. So he has been shaved, whereas, for example, this Chubbs the owl, another one of my patterns, Chubbs has not been shaved. Look at his eyes. Look at all those pills on his little feathers. This is acrylic yarn, and it's pilling like this. Even look at the back of it. You can see all those little pills on there. This would drive me crazy. The worst for that is like under the wings. You get all those little pills. And this is insane because all of my amigurumis pretty much looked like this. They had crap coming off of them and now they all look like this. So I spent about an hour and a half with my husband shaving all of our amigurumis because again, they're all on display here in Edmonton, and we just shaved all of them. So they went from looking shaggy like this guy to looking really nice like Kraft Dinner here and all of his brothers and sisters, the penguins. My pride and joy, one of them actually, was this guy. This was the very first amigurumi I made for Paul. His name is Rex. I feature him in, my second episode as well. So check it out if you don't know him or if you don't recognize him. He's a dragon. No pattern here. I just crocheted this up on my own. And I actually found that this yarn cleaned up the nicest. So most of my amigurumis, Chubbs here is knit in Red Heart Soft. Most of my penguins are knit in Red Heart Soft. I think they've got a great color palette. I like the shine that they have to them. And I've just always found that I really like Red Heart Soft yarn. They're bold colors. They don't run. It's a really nice company. But Rex here is made with Lion brand Vanna's Choice, or just their regular Lion brand. I think they're just regular worsted weight yarn. And this cleaned up so nicely. Now, what I noticed best about depilling is that the color transition, where it goes from one color to another, just becomes so bright and crisp and clean. It's like seeing in high definition for the first time. So a good analogy, I just started wearing glasses about 3 years ago. I never really knew I needed them. I always thought I had fine eyesight. My husband went to go update his prescription, and while I was waiting, they're like, oh, do you want a free eye exam? And I was like, yeah, sure. They're like, you need glasses. And I had no clue. It's like putting glasses on for the first time, and you notice like all the spokes in people's tires, and you notice like sharp, clean lines on bicycles and on buildings, and you notice all this. It's like the world in detail for the first time in your life. That's what I felt when I depilled all of my amigurumis. It's like seeing them all in HD. They don't have a halo anymore. I didn't really get his horns very well, but you can see along the back here, there's no halo. Everything just looks so much nicer. And so, like I said, we spent an hour and a half depilling all of my amigurumis, and this is what we have to show for it. This is how much fluff and fuzz we had taken away from my little amigurumis, my little pets here. You'll notice a couple strands of yarn in here. That's because, for example, with the penguins under their wing, if there was like a loose end that I had woven in previously, if that was coming out, I just snipped it. But all of this fuzz it's just pills, it's just fuzz. And this was all on my amigurumis. So an hour and a half later, we've got all sorts of fuzz. Paul goes, you should spin that into yarn and make a thing out of it. I was like, I'm not spinning fuzz into yarn. This would be the ugliest brown color with all this crap mixed together. But my pièce de résistance, the thing that cleaned up the nicest, was my lovely turtle, Macy Gray. Now I'm gonna put a picture in here for you. and you can see that she was just covered in loose ends and pills. And this yarn, I believe, was like Red Heart Mystery or something. It's a yarn you buy at the craft store, but I don't think it's 100% acrylic, or if it is, it's wound really badly. But she was just covered in a halo, so bad that Paul wanted me to make a new shell for her so that we could sort of revive her, revamp her, bring her back to the life. All of a sudden, we shaved her, and she is like a whole new penguin. I'm sorry, a turtle. She's a whole new turtle. She's a whole new woman. And she just cleaned up so nicely. Look at that. No halo almost whatsoever. And she was furry. She looked like she was covered in mold, like she had been, living under a moss-covered rock for 50 years. And now look at her. She's a brand new woman. I should make her a new face now that she's a nicer looking turtle. I might make her a little better. But this was just so much fun to do. And so I wanted to do just a little demonstration of what it looks like to depill your things with my lovely model here. This is Chubbs the Owl. He's my own pattern. You can find it on Ravelry if you're interested. But I wanted to show you, because he's one of the worst ones. Just look at all these little pills, all this little fuzz, all these little things covering him, all that halo around his eyes especially. So I just wanted to show you what it's like to shave. So have fun with me. Take a drink if you have one, because this is about to be a process. All right, so to shave your sweater, your amigurumi, whatever, you just take your shaver, turn it on, and very gently, you're going to want to just go in small circles around whatever it is that you're shaving. And you're going to be able to see and hear those pills coming right off. So even in, what is this, 15 seconds, you can see that all those little pills that were on his little feathers here are practically gone. And this takes like no time at all. Let's see like the halo on his eyes. Let me see if I can capture it in the light. There you go. You can see some of that halo. Let's just take a look. So just in small circles, you just shave him a little bit, and I swear it like brings it back to life. So the place where the colors meet become crispy lines again. You don't have to worry about, redoing it or throwing it away or anything. This will revive your knits, you guys. I mean it. So much so that especially if you submit your knitting to like a county fair or anything, if you're trying to win a prize, even if you've got an incredible lace, lovely handmade thing, give it a quick pill shave before you submit it, and you will notice such a difference. Look at his eyes. Almost no halo anymore. The body, nothing. So one more thing. Look at the back here. All those little pills. Just shave them, and they're gone. I feel like I'm on like a QVC infomercial right now. Like, wow, look at that shaver. It works wonders. Da, da, da. I don't even know what brand this is. I don't know anything. I'm not trying to sell you this shaver because I bought one from Knit Picks. Lord knows I hope it works the same way. But even in 15, 20 seconds, all of that is pretty much gone. You'll see that I now have all my blue fuzz trapped in here. And if you give it a little bang, it might coagulate into a nice little ball, a little fuzzbee like that. And you're left with a really clean knit. So this has been my adventure. I hope that it is helpful for you. If you don't have a pill shaver, invest in one. They're dirt cheap on Knit Picks. If you want a nicer one, I might recommend it. This one looks like it's called a Remington Fuzz Away Pro. I have no idea if this is 5 years old or 100 years old, but it works like a charm, and it is absolutely changed the way I think about my knitting. So that's that. Great. So in closing, I just had one little bonus segment that I wanted to let you know about, and that is that I have started a new Ravelry bundle for one skein of fingering weight yarn projects. And that's because if you're like me, everywhere you go, you want to find a brewery to get the best local beer, and you want to find a yarn store so you can pick up a skein of yarn from, I've picked up yarn from North Carolina, I've picked up yarn from the UK, I've picked up yarn from Toronto, Ontario. I've picked up these single skeins of yarn everywhere because I was there. And I don't buy it with a project in mind. I think, okay, fingering is pretty versatile. And then I sit at home and I've got all these single skeins of fingering weight yarn just waiting for me. And so what I've done is I've created a bundle on Ravelry for projects that take up to about 450 yards of fingering weight yarn. So this is going to be your fingerless mitts, your neck warmers, your hats, your scarves, your gloves, your mittens, your, everything, all these sort of small accessories, your little shawlettes, lace work projects. I've sort of created this bundle in hopes that I can draw inspiration and start knitting from my stash from some of these single skeins of fingering weight yarn that I have. But maybe you can do it too. So if you are interested in that, I'm going to put a link down below and also on my Ravelry groups page. And you can maybe follow along and see if you get any inspiration from just searching for a single skein project like I did. If you are interested to do it yourself, I just went to the search page on Ravelry and I did knitting and or crochet. You can of course select which one. And I just went down to the yarn. I selected fingering weight up to 450 yards, as well as everything lower than that. So like I think they have 0 to 150, 150 to 300, and then 300 to 450. You just select all those and you'll get all these patterns that just require one skein of fingering weight yarn. You'll be surprised at some of the cool things that are in there. But I am now on an accessories kick, and hopefully I will maybe be going yarn shopping soon for a sweater's quantity of cotton, because I'm going to Egypt. I want to make another amazing sweater or cardigan or something. So that's what I'm going to do. But I have all these single skeins of yarn that I need projects for. So I'm going to do that too. Anyway, I hope you found this a good episode. I'm really excited to be back. I hope to podcast on a semi-regular basis, but I'm not going to put pressure on myself to pump them out if I don't have any good content for you guys. So hope it's okay. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Megan with the Knitters Party podcast. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Meg311Yo. And please join our Ravelry groups page. You'll find us under the Knitters Party podcast. And hopefully you can, ask me questions. I want to see what you guys are up to, what you're knitting. But I do occasionally search my tabs. I search for my friends, what they're knitting currently, whips and finished objects and things like that. So I will see what you guys are up to anyway. Great. Looking forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you. Ma salama. Bye-bye.